Good evening. The time is 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. This is your host, Buffy Williams. You're listening to the New Heights Show on Education.
Welcome to the New Heights Show on Education. This is Pamela Clark, founder and director of the New Heights Educational Group. NHEG offers a one-stop shop for education. Check out our website at www.newheightseducation.org and our Learning Annex to explore fantastic educational options.
Right now, you might be struggling through your classes or even failing them. You might be worried that you may not finish high school. There might have even been a thought that you may not be smart enough. Well, the New Heights Educational Group begs to differ. We not only think you are smart enough, but with our help, you will complete your high school diploma. The New Heights Educational Group strives to improve your academic success through its tutoring services. To learn more, please visit newheightseducation.org and contact us. New Heights Educational Group. Educational resources to help reach your goals.
This podcast is brought to you by Silicon Valley High School, the world's fastest growing, video-based, self-paced, teacher-supported, fully accredited online school that's recommended by more than 96% of students. Take individual courses at just $95 each, or earn your high school diploma at any age. Check us out at svhs.co, and I hope you enjoy the show.
In this week's episode, we will discuss education reform on mission.
Hello, everyone. This is Danielle Washington coming to you live from Ms. Buffy Williams' office. We're just sitting around thinking about life and trying to become better people tonight, so check us out. Welcome back. You're on the air with Buffy Williams, and you have been listening to the New Heights Show on Education. We have been discussing the show's purpose on mission.
Good evening. It is New Year's Eve, and I want to thank you all for joining me on this New Year's Eve broadcast. Whether you're listening to me live or you're listening to a recording after New Year's Eve, I'm grateful that you decided to join us. I wanted to make sure that I went back and did a point of clarification from last week's show. Last week we talked about what is the intention for Ohio's strategic plan. And one of the things I talked about was a community in which I used to live in. And I want to make sure that I want you to understand that I'm not overgeneralizing that whole population or that whole community of students. But I know that no matter where we live in this nation or in this world, we can all find pockets of people where we can be more instrumental in their lives and more impactful in their lives than we have been in the past. We're thinking about going into this new year, and in this new year, we're going into a new era, a new decade. And how do we want to propel the field of education forward? With the New Heights Educational Group, they have provided a resource for parents and students alike to be able to tap into education in a different aspect and in a different form. And we know that education in this new era is going to look different. It's going to be different because the things that may have occurred in the past are now at the end, and we are looking forward to what is the education system going to look like for the future of our children, the future of our nation. So we need to all work together and galvanize together to come up with solutions that are going to fit for everyone. No one is going to like everything that we implement or the educational resources that are available, but with this new era of education, we can definitely come up with concepts that may have not been approached before. We know that we can explore possibilities that haven't been explored before. So on today's show, we're going to be talking about educational resources. And what is our intention for education coming into this new year? On last week's show on Spreaker, I posted a quote, and the quote was from Aristotle. And it reads, educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. And that was my point from last week's episode when I talked about the community. If you're going to educate students, if you're not impacting their heart, then we're really not changing the way that they're going to be a citizen or a productive citizen in society. And so we can have all the resources in the world, we can have all the assessments, we can do all the testing, we can have all these buildings where we, house students in a particular area for a certain length of time and teach them the systematic way of learning. But if we're not impacting the heart of the child, what are we providing to our community and to our nation if we're not also looking at the heart of the child and how the things that what we do or what we impart into them is going to affect the nation as a whole. And so, again, on this week, I have a different quote from Abraham Lincoln, and it states that some achieve great success is proof that all others can achieve it as well. And again, that is the seed of hope that I wanted to impart on last week's show. Because others have been successful, because you've been able to triumph through adversity, it shows others, it shows students, it shows other children that they can also aspire to those things and they can achieve great things. And this nation is relying on our youth coming into this new era to provide education that may not necessarily look like the educational world in which we came up in. It may be time for education reform. It may be time for us to look at education in a different way. And so we have to understand that although we have a great framework, we're not, again, talking about abolishing public school systems, but are we doing something? We need to ask ourselves, are we doing something fundamentally wrong when we have this surge of parents going into the homeschooling era, going into the unschooling era, and providing educational resources in a way that can be more inclusive of students? So what are we doing fundamentally wrong that some students don't even want to come to schools or don't want to attend public schools or even thinking about taking their lives? What are we imparting into our students? How can we as an education system, as a community, provide something for our students to be able to hold on to and to be able to glean from in the years to come? There again are possibilities that yet we may not have explored. So we're talking about educational resources today, and I hope that in this next era that these educational resources will be an asset for you moving forward and teaching your students. Of course, the New Heights Educational Group at the New Heights Education, they promote literacy for adults and for children, and they offer a wide variety of supportive services for their educational needs. They assist families in school selections. I know that that was a big deal for me moving to a new state or a new community. What does the education system look like? We know we have the Department of Education that has a grading system where we can look at the grade for the particular school and what they offer. But it's sometimes helpful to find a resource like the one at the New Heights Educational Group that can actually sit down with you and look at the comparisons between the schools so that you can actually select the best school for your student and for your student's temperament. And that's a very helpful resource. And also, they organize educational activities at the New Heights Educational Group, and they help you acquire materials. I have the World Knowledge Academic Enrichment component where I partnered with the New Heights Educational Group on, and it has a framework of how you can work with your students and additional educational activities. And there are also other authors where they research the material, look over the material, and can tell you kind of, what are the key aspects of all of that material. And so they can help you purchase those materials or actually go through and decipher whether or not this is a particular component that you want to use in your unschooling or homeschooling or school environment, whether it's public school or charter school. They also offer at the New Heights Educational Group Japanese and Spanish classes, also ESL classes, and those are English as a second language classes. And they also have natural speller because we know that spelling is the key to reading, and understanding those root words are going to be instrumental in the success of your child, and help them become a natural speller. So they also offer that aspect. They also offer financial literacy, which is also another component of the World Knowledge Academic Enrichment book that I authored. But the New Heights Educational Group also offers financial literacy. And with some of their other partner courses, they offer animation, a generation of self-employment, drawing courses, personal and professional development courses, as well as tutoring resources. We also know that there is Khan Academy out there as a tutoring resource, and there's also tutor.com. And so, in addition to the New Heights Educational Group, you have Khan Academy, as I said, and then tutor.com, where you can find tutors for your children or for your students to be able to access that information. Also, they offer pre-assessment and testing and travel through the New Heights Educational Group. And it's good sometimes to travel with a group for educational purposes so that you can allow the students in a different environment to be able to actually go to a site and gain more information. I'm going to talk a little bit about those educational resources and kind of how they have impacted our families and our lives, because I know with me coming up, I had a lot of community resources that were available to me. I had the Pike Pioneer Museum. Of course, it was just how pioneers lived in that time. I think there's a nominal fee that you may pay in order to access that particular museum, but they have a small church that was built from that pioneer times, and you could walk through and actually feel the feel. You could look at the tools and the mechanisms that they used in order to gather wood and different aspects of how they cooked. I know a highlight for us always on that tour was that they would make fresh biscuits in the oven and allow us to eat the biscuits and watch them churn butter and different aspects like that. The quilting, anything like that is very helpful, and it sparks the interest of children. And of course, if they're into engineering and things like that, that's a very great starting point to see, where these concepts came from and how they've evolved over the years. That's just a small community treasure that I have in my community in Troy, Alabama, but I know everyone has community treasures and historical markers that are around the world. And if we just ride past them every day, we're passing up on that genuine educational resource that is free and available to all of us that we can tap into. We can stop and read those historical markers and see actually, what took place in this community years ago and what was historically important about it. And so that our students can, again, be intentional about how they're going to move forward in their community and also learn from the histories of the past. Another educational resource was the Pew Research Center, and it's at pewresearchcenter.org. And their mission has been to help inform and engage Americans and their audiences on the most critical issues of our time. They engage people across all political spectrums and all divides of class, race, and religion. And we know that it's important for our students to know what the critical issues are right now in our country. Also, there is history.com, PBS Learning Center. And I don't think the public broadcasting system has received enough recognition for all that they've done in the lives of younger children, younger students. I can remember coming